Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to Audiobook Dynasty. If you want early access and even more parts for free, make sure to join me on Patreon. Cough, cough. A blood-soaked guard dragged himself through the blizzard, leaning heavily on his rifle like a crutch. Blood loss had left him woozy, but his willpower fueled by the need to warn the town kept him moving. I have to tell Dalton. Wapole, and that swordsman. He didn't know how long he'd trudged forward before finally collapsing face first into the snow. Luckily, a traveling merchant passing by on a sled spotted him and hauled him back to the village. Under the glow of firelight, his body gradually regained warmth. When he opened his eyes and saw Dalton, he immediately became frantic and sputtered. He's back. Wapole is back. And he brought someone dangerous. Calm down, Will, Dalton said, his expression darkening. Speak slowly. Just as that mysterious pirate had warned. Wapole had returned. I. Will gasped, his words stuck in his throat. A gentle hand passed him a cup of warm water. Here, Vivi said with a soft smile. Drink this to calm down. Thank you. Will downed the cup in one gulp, his breathing slowly steadying. I feel much better, thank you. Then, as he looked up and saw who handed him the cup, his face froze with guilt. I am sorry. It was the light blue-haired girl from the pirate ship, the one he had nearly shot. You can explain now, Vivi said kindly. Wapole. Will stood up abruptly, grabbing Dalton by the sleeve. He took out all our men at the dock. And on his ship, there was someone terrifying, Mashuru. The same criminal who nearly destroyed Drum Kingdom 20 years ago. Dalton's face went pale. That can't be. Mashuru was exiled to the Land of Fire by the former king. Cough, cough. Will's body collapsed back onto the bed, drained. And he struggled to turn toward Vivi and murmured. Your three-sword companion, he was ambushed by Mashuru during the fight with Wapole. Mashuru's strange ability hit him, and he fell into the river. He probably didn't. Will fainted before he could finish the sentence. Zoro fell into the river. Vivi, Sanji, and Usopp's eyes met in alarm. We need to get back to the dock immediately. Vivi shouted. Zoro might still be alive. Usopp clenched his fists, trying to swallow his fear. Yeah. Let's go, Sanji. Calm down, Sanji said, lighting a cigarette. Panicking won't help. That mosshead won't die that easily. He exhaled a puff of smoke. Usopp, you and Vivi stay here. Wait for Shiragai, Luffy, and Nami. I'll go alone. Dalton stood up sharply. Wait. I'm coming too. We can't let Mashuru reach the town. His tone was firm. The people have already suffered enough. I won't let them suffer again. Both men dashed out. Sanji. I'm coming with you. Usopp called out, trying to follow. Sanji turned, pressing both hands on Usopp's shoulders. Usopp, we need to move fast. You'll only slow us down. Besides, it's dangerous here too. If we don't stop those guys, it's up to you to protect Vivi and the townspeople. Usopp froze, seeing Sanji's rare seriousness. He swallowed hard and nodded with misty eyes. All right, just be careful. And find Zoro, okay? He's a terrible navigator. If he gets lost, he won't find his way back. Sanji gave a small grin as he waved goodbye. Don't worry. That idiot's tougher than we give him credit for. He hasn't become the world's greatest swordsman yet. No way he's dying in a place like this. Sanji sprinted forward. Dalton galloped beside him on horseback until he frowned. This is too slow. Dalton's body began to morph, growing in size, his muscles thickening. His clothes stretched and creaked before bursting as he transformed. His jaw lengthened, fur erupted across his body, and thick bull horns curved from his head. He had taken the form of a bison. Landing hard in the snow, Dalton's four hooves pounded into the ground with explosive force. He turned his bloodshot eyes to Sanji and bellowed. Get on, Sanji. Without hesitation, Sanji leapt onto Dalton's back. Hang on. I'm going full speed. Dalton surged forward, tearing across the snowy plains like a stampeding beast, hooves kicking up trails of snow. On the mountain above, a black aircraft spewing dark smoke rose through the stormy winds, heading toward the snow-covered summit. Ha ha ha. Fly. This smoke fruit ability is awesome. Luffy cheered wildly in the front cockpit. Shiragai had fused smoke and propulsion into a makeshift aircraft, shielding the cockpit with armament haki to block the icy winds and raging blizzard. He had modeled the cockpit after planes from his original world, complete with faux buttons, levers, and displays, though most of them were just for show. Whoa! What are all these buttons? Luffy asked, eyes sparkling like a kid in a candy store. Nami sat beside him, equally amazed. Shiragai, did you invent this? From the speaker, Shiragai's voice replied with a smirk. No, I copied someone else's design. Nami admired the snow-covered peaks below, flakes swirling in the storm. It's beautiful. I wish Nojiko could see this. Shirogai's chuckle echoed through the loudspeaker. She will one day. Then his voice changed to mimic a flight attendant. Ding dong. Dear passengers, we have arrived at Witch Castle Airport. The current temperature is -60 degrees Celsius. The aircraft is descending. For your safety, please remain seated and do not open the overhead compartments. Oh ho! Luffy clapped in wonder. Shugoi! That was amazing! Inside the cold castle, in a room filled with books, a massive operating table stood at the center. Shirogai was stationed at the table, concocting antibiotics to treat Nami. Nami glanced uneasily at a pile of clothes on the floor meant to ward off the cold. Her brows furrowed with worry as she asked, Shirogai, is it really necessary for Luffy to jump off the mountain and climb back up again? It's freezing out there, and he's only in a vest and shorts. Nami, you underestimate Luffy, Shirogai replied, shaking the liquid in his vial. He turned with a calm smile. That guy's body isn't like a normal person's. This kind of cold may slow him down, but it won't break him. Dash. Below Drum Mountain. Cold, cold, cold. Luffy was shivering as he crawled up the snowy peak on all fours. Ah! I'm gonna fall. His left hand slipped, causing his body to slide down, but he bit onto a nearby icicle. So hard. This snowy mountain's impossible to climb. Still, he pressed on, thinking excitedly. But Shirogai said that if I make it to the top, he'll teach me how to form that giant weapon from his hand. That was so cool. Dash. Back in the castle, Nami had fallen into a deep, restful sleep after being injected with antibiotics. Shirogai gently closed the door behind him, returned to the study, and picked up a book titled Kexadun Fever Theory. He quietly waited for the return of the castle's true master, Dr. Kurha. Dash. Wapol's pirate crew is at Bighorn. Oh no, Dalton and that curly-browed kid missed them. Panic spread among the residents of Bighorn. Vivi, let's run. Usopp cried, tugging on her arm. Wait, Usopp. Vivi called out, scanning the chaos. Her voice was firm but conflicted. We can't leave. Sweat poured down Usopp's face. If we don't run now, it'll be too late. Wapol's crew is on the way. If they recognize us, we're dead. But I can't just watch innocent people die. Woo, Mama, Papa, where are you? Vivi rushed to a sobbing girl and helped her up, gently asking about her parents. Usopp's hands trembled. He gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. If only Shirogai were here. He'd wipe the floor with these guys. Sanji's words echoed in his mind, you need to protect the people here and Vivi's safety. Slap. 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 Usopp suddenly began smacking himself. Shirogai had once told him casually, if you can't calm down, smack yourself. Pain helps you focus. Ow. That really hurts? His nerves settled slightly, and a flicker of confidence appeared. All right. I'm not running. Usopp pulled out a sleek, white bone slingshot from his backpack crafted from the skull of a sea monster that Shirogai had slain. The slingshot had 3 frames, allowing him to fire multiple shots at once. Special move time. He opened a pouch filled with glass marbles created by Shirogai. Special attack, Shirogai's explosive bomb. Each marble contained explosive gas, extracted from Shirogai's bomb fruit ability. When they hit a target, they exploded with devastating force. Usopp had once used 5 to blow up a giant octopus-like sea beast threatening the Going Merry. He also clipped several black spheres to his belt. Special attack, Shirogai's grenade. These glass grenades carried Shirogai's blood volatile, expanding rapidly on contact with air. He'd warned Usopp repeatedly, don't mess around with these. One mistake and you'll regret it. Usopp hadn't seen their full effect yet, but judging by Shirogai's caution, they were deadlier than the bombs. I can do this. Usopp ran straight for the village entrance, where a few villagers had begun setting up a defense. Even if I'm not Shirogai, I can still try to smile like him. That confident smile. He mimicked the way Shirogai looked when facing enemies, calm, fearless, condescending. I'm strong. I'm the sniper of the Straw Hat Pirates. I won't be afraid. Dash. Usopp, did he leave? Vivi had helped the crying girl find her parents. When she turned, Usopp was gone. She felt disappointed, assuming he'd run away. But then, in the crowd, she saw a lanky figure heading the opposite way. Usopp. His thin frame moved against the tide of fleeing people. You really are the bravest warrior of the sea. Tears welled in Vivi's eyes. Usopp, the cowardly braggart, was marching alone toward danger. The bravest countercurrent traveler. The sniper of the Straw Hat Pirates. Dash. Tap. 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 Light footsteps echoed in the chilly castle. A small figure in a pink hat with antlers skipped down the hall. Hee hee, I came back early today. I can read more and learn more. Just like Dr. Hiluluk and Dr. Kurha. I wonder if I can go to see? Will there be people who don't think I'm a monster? The doctor said there's something called cotton candy. What does it taste like? He giggled as he reached the door to the library. Pushing it open, he froze. Candlelight flickered inside. A handsome man with short black hair sat in the chair, looking up with a soft smile. Yo, you're back? Chopper. Chopper nodded, then politely bowed and backed out. Sorry, wrong room. The door clicked shut. He stood in the hallway, blinking. Strange. Did Dr. Kurha and I come back to the wrong castle? Host observed, user of the human fruit, human form. Comprehended, the ability to transform into a human. Shiragai Yamakuro heard the system's prompt in his mind and gave a subtle smile. He now possessed the abilities of the munch fruit and the human fruit, human form. All that remained was to wait for the right person to appear. Splat. Suddenly, the door burst open and a small figure rolled inside with a flurry of startled noises. Ow! Where am I? Chopper rubbed his small blue nose and looked up in alarm. I actually rolled inside. He panicked upon realizing he'd been eavesdropping outside the room and accidentally pushed the door open, tumbling right in. Did he see me? Chopper stiffly turned his head toward Shiragai's direction, silently praying. He didn't see me, he didn't see me, he didn't see me. Amid Chopper's hopeful chant, Shiragai waved at him with a grin. I see you. Ah! Chopper yelped and jumped to his feet, his hooves desperately pushing against the door in a bid to escape. You're pulling the door the wrong way. Shiragai calmly closed his book, walked over with a smile, and gently pulled the door open. He looked at Chopper, now trembling and pressed against the corner of the wall. Want to leave, Chopper? You. Chopper eyed Shiragai warily. When he realized Shiragai made no move to harm him and only opened the door, he bolted in a panic. Yet before vanishing, he couldn't resist turning back to wiggle his tiny rear tauntingly. I'm not thanking you, idiot. You're welcome, Shiragai replied casually, watching the little reindeer scamper off. He gave a slight shrug and returned to his book. Meanwhile, inside the castle's infirmary. Your fever really is dropping steadily. Dr. Kurha pressed a hand to Nami's forehead while restraining her gently with the other. She was mildly surprised to find the Kestia bacteria in Nami's system rapidly decreasing. At this rate, you'll be up and about in no time. Blushing faintly, Nami brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I told you. Shiragai already gave me the vaccine. Shiragai. Dr. Kurha raised a brow. Your ship's doctor. Nami shook her head. Not exactly. He's our ship's vice-captain. A vice-captain doubling as a doctor? What kind of pirate crew is this? Nami smiled confidently. Shiragai can do everything. He's not just a doctor, he's a navigator, a swordsman, a chef, an engineer. Kurha burst out laughing. Ha! Sounds like a fascinating man. After confirming Nami's condition, Kurha released her, standing up and studying the stubborn young pirate with interest. So, you contracted 5-day sickness and, without the proper equipment on your ship, you broke into my home to use my castle's medical gear and make Kestia antibiotics. Nami gave a sheepish nod. I hope you can forgive us. Kurha smirked darkly. Well, since you've used my equipment, you ought to pay for it. I won't ask for much, just 30 million berries. What? Nami shot upright like a lightning bolt, glaring at Kurha furiously. 30 million berries? For borrowing your equipment? You old hag, you might as well rob us. Kurha grinned slyly, waving a gleaming scalpel. I am robbing you, little girl. Nami was speechless. Kurha let out a hearty laugh, setting the scalpel down. Now, where is this doctor of yours? I want to meet the guy who made the antibiotics. Just then, the door slammed open. Dr. Kurha. Chopper darted inside, clutching at her pant leg in a panic. There's a weird human in my study, he. The room fell silent. Chopper's gaze locked onto Nami, who sat up in bed and curiously reached out toward his antlers. AHH. Chopper immediately hid behind Kurha's leg. Dr. Kurha, there's a human. There's a human in the castle. Let's run, they've taken over. Nami gave a helpless sigh. You're hiding in the wrong direction. Chopper. Kurha flicked him on the head, annoyed. Calm down. Don't forget I'm human too. She gestured at Nami. This is Nami, a pirate who broke in. Turning to Chopper, she added. Go to the study and fetch some immune boosters. She needs them. Will you, okay, Dr. Kurha? Chopper sniffled, glancing up at her, then trudged out the door, glancing fearfully back at Nami. Was that a talking reindeer puppet? Nami asked, confused. Kurha shot her a sharp look. Don't get interested in a man so easily, little girl. Hi. Back in the study. The little guy's back again. Shiragai smiled, eyes still on his book. Creak. The door pushed open just a crack, and Chopper's head cautiously poked through. He glanced around nervously. Good, he didn't notice me. Stay calm, Chopper. Quiet. Chopper tiptoed across the room, heading toward the medicine cabinet. But despite his efforts, the old wooden floors betrayed him. Creak. Chopper froze. The fur on his back stood on end. Slowly, he turned toward Shiragai. But the man didn't even look up from his book. Chopper let out a relieved breath. Ha, human vigilance is pathetic. If it were me, I'd have noticed that sound instantly. Confident now, Chopper moved to gather the medicines. Yet when he turned around, Shiragai was suddenly standing right behind him. The door was closed. Ah! Chopper leapt against the wall, his fur standing on end. Shiragai grinned. Well now, what should I do with you, little one? Chopper clutched the bottle in his hooves, trembling. What do you want? Noticing the medicine in Chopper's hands, Shiragai quickly guessed his intentions. He smirked mischievously, flashing two sharp little fangs. I wonder how reindeer's tastes. Reindeer. Chopper paled, his legs going weak. Tears welled up in his big brown eyes. It's terrible. Awful. Super sour. You won't like it. I swear. Woo. Dr. Kurha, help me. He's gonna eat me. Shiragai gently grinned, reaching out a hand toward Chopper. Really? You look so tasty. Human, don't you dare come closer. Chopper glared, stamping his hoof. When Shiragai's fingers brushed his nose and stroked his fuzzy face, Chopper puffed up in embarrassment. That plush feel is quite nice, Shiragai admitted, withdrawing with a pleased smile. Chopper turned away, irritated but flattered. I'm not happy. Human. Shiragai chuckled. Chopper, you're entertaining. Only I know your name, that's not fair. The name's Shiragai, now we're even. Shiragai. Chopper tried it out. Spotting the herbal mix in Chopper's hoof, Shiragai asked, are these Puling and Forsythia for Nami's medicine? Chopper nodded. Shiragai took the herbs and began grinding them on the table. Let me finish this. We intruded without permission, shouldn't burden the host longer. He glanced toward the open study door. Oh, Chopper, would you mind checking the cliff edge? My companion should already have climbed up. Chopper's ears perked up. I'll go. With that, he scampered out. Shiragai smiled to himself. That little one's cute. Dash. Outside, howling winds and swirling snow battered the cliff. Chopper crept along, alert for any sign of Shiragai's friend, likely Roronozoro or Sanji. A glint caught his eye, a thin object lodged in the cliff. It wobbled in the wind. Are you all right? Chopper shouted. He shifted into human form, pulled the dangling figure free, and dragged them to safety. He shook them awake. Hey, you! Are you alive? To his surprise, he hadn't pulled a rope but an arm belonging to Luffy, swaying like a flag. Luffy snored, drool glistening, a snot bubble frozen on his nose. He had fallen asleep mid-climb in the cold. Chopper stared. He just fell asleep. Then Luffy bolted up, eyes shut, blurting, Shiragai, Sanji meet. Startled, Chopper dove behind a rock. Luffy yawned and flopped back down, muttering in sleep. Once convinced Luffy was merely dreaming, Chopper gently picked him up and carried him back to the castle. Dash. Inside, Luffy woke in a warm room, mumbling about meat. He spotted a thick cut swinging in front of him and chomped down, only it was Chopper's rear end. Squee. Chopper jumped as Luffy's bite connected. He ran circles around the room, yelping, help! Help! Meat's escaping! Luffy mumbled, still half asleep and chewing. Most of Chopper disappeared into Luffy's mouth. Shiragai stepped in, calm and smooth, breaking it up. Easy there, Luffy. He pulled Luffy off Chopper and rubbed his head. Luffy, are you okay? Chopper, shaking, hid behind Shiragai's head. Luffy spotted him and exclaimed, Shiragai, there's a weird dude behind you. Shiragai plucked Chopper by the neck. This is Chopper, a reindeer who ate the human fruit and became human. Dear. Luffy's eyes watered and drool dripped as he stared. Chopper screamed, he's gonna eat me. Shiragai gently restrained Luffy with a touch of armament haki, and Luffy relaxed instantly. He placed Chopper down and introduced both. Luffy is our captain, the man aiming to be Pirate King, and he's a rubber human, he ate the rubber fruit. To lighten the mood, Shiragai pinched and pulled Luffy's cheeks, making goofy faces. Chopper giggled, clutching his belly, then Luffy joined in laughter. When the fun ended, Shiragai stood, expression turning serious. Alright, we've got uninvited guests approaching. Luffy, ready for a fight? Luffy jumped excitedly. Can we spar? Chopper, still giggling, looked puzzled. Fighting sounded like trouble. Dash. At the cliff, Wapol and his remaining soldiers pushed toward the castle. Seeing the black flag with a cherry blossom skull, Wapol snarled. Someone defiled my castle. His soldiers flung Sanji, Usopp, and Dalton into the courtyard. Mushuru stomped Sanji's chest in anger. That kick hurt. If not for Wapol's help, you'd be dead. If you're wondering whether Wapol had a brother, well, apparently he does. Just wasn't part of canon. Wapol glared at his enraged brother, Mushuru. Stop directing your anger at the dying, Wapol scolded. Let the living tremble under our power. He glared toward the castle's ruined entrance, teeth clenched. That witch dared defile my castle, I'll make her pay. Hey, it's you. Mushuru snarled, stepping beside Wapol. I told you not to call me big brother anymore, you fool. Wapol rubbed the back of his neck. I know, big brother. Dash. Inside the courtyard, Shiragai and Luffy stood back to back, Chopper cowering behind them. Host observed, user of the germ fruit. Comprehended, the ability to release and absorb highly toxic spores. Luffy's eyes blazed as he took in the sight of Sanji, Usopp, and Dalton lying motionless. Sanji. Usopp. Dalton, he shouted, rage boiling in his chest. They offered no response. Mushuru puffed up his chest, swaggering into the open. They fell to me, Musi-uru, wielder of the strongest devil fruit, the germ fruit. Luffy gritted his teeth. You hurt my friends, I'll get revenge. He launched into attack, arms swinging in a barrage. Gum Gatling! Luffy roared. Mushuru laughed and unleashed his response, toxic spores erupted in dozens of small blistering bombs. Spore Storm Barrage! Their devil fruit powers clashed midair, shaking the ground. Luffy was struck and knocked back, landing hard. Mushuru staggered too, grinning. Their strength was evenly matched. Dash! Meanwhile, Shiragai moved past Wapol and his troops. He knelt beside the poisoned trio and pressed his palms to their foreheads. Slowly, he drew a dark mist from their bodies using his newly acquired germ abilities. Their nausea faded and color returned. Chopper, catch them, Shiragai ordered, gently tossing each injured friend to the reindeer. Wah! Shiragai, don't treat them like rag dolls. Chopper-san transformed into his larger form and caught them clumsily. Shiragai smiled. Take them inside for treatment. Luffy and I will handle this. Chopper hesitated. But they're really strong, right? Shiragai laughed. Don't worry, I'm stronger. Boom. A cannonball hit, sending Chopper's eyes wide as he watched Shiragai stand unscathed amid flying debris. Shiragai! Chopper gasped, before turning to carry the injured inside. Dash! Wapol's jaw dropped in disbelief. His arm cannon shook as he muttered, why wasn't he hurt? Did the snow break the shot? He raised his cannon again and fired a second. The soldier beside him exploded. He's not broken. Wapol exclaimed, then refocused on Shiragai. 5-shot cannon, this'll finish him. He unleashed 5 rapid cannonballs. Finger cut. Shiragai flicked his finger like a blade. The cannonballs shattered midair, raining fragments harmlessly. Wapol stared, stunned. This power. He barked orders at Chess and Kuromarimo. Go finish him. Us, they mumbled, terrified as Wapol pointed his cannon at them. Drum Kingdom Law, Article 1, defy the king and you die. Wapol bellowed. They gulped and charged, praying they'd get to Shiragai before Mushuru took care of Luffy. But Shiragai didn't move, his attention remained on the battle at hand. Dash! Back in the courtyard, Luffy launched a surprise kick. Gum revolving drill, he yelled. Mushuru responded with a sweep. Too slow, he sneered. Luffy's punch hit, transforming Mushuru's spores into a cloud momentarily, but his true form reappeared behind Luffy. Fungi burst! Mushuru shouted, triggering a spore eruption that spread across Luffy's body. What is this? Luffy was immobilized, trapped in a mass of mushrooms. Slowly, Mushuru raised his hands. Poison spore cloud. Luffy attempted to hold his breath. Gum hold breath, but spores penetrated his pores. When the fog cleared, Luffy lay motionless, poisoned and pale on the brink. Mushuru laughed triumphantly. I, wielder of the germ fruit, am invincible. He turned to face Shiragai. Now it's your turn. Kneel and prepare for death. Shiragai smirked. Oh really? Terrifying. He extended his hand, finger crooked. Come at me. Huh? You bastard, are you looking down on me? Watch me shave off your head with a spinning drill. Mushuru's face twisted in fury, clearly provoked by Shiragai. He raised his left arm like an umbrella, spinning it at high speed as he rolled up his sleeve, prepared to charge. Wait, Mushuru! That smiling guy isn't someone to take lightly. Wapol quickly jumped in to block his brother's path. I told you not to call me brother, you idiot! Mushuru snapped in frustration. Come on, Mushuru, don't throw a tantrum now, Wapol replied, trying to stay calm despite the tension. You've always been my brother even when you were firing toxic spores into the sky trying to kill everyone. Indeed, when Mushuru was a teen, he had recklessly fired a deadly spore bomb, a rare substance formed once every 10 years inside his body, into the air, hoping to annihilate the entire population of Drum Kingdom. That day, only the kingdom's powerful winds had spared them, dispersing the toxins before they could fully spread. Even so, the aftermath was grim. Many were infected, lives were lost, and the royal family's reputation plummeted. The previous king, desperate to save what remained of his country's credibility, began prioritizing medicine, transforming Drum Kingdom into a center of medical innovation. But Mushuru's twisted nature couldn't be reformed. Out of desperation, the king had exiled him to the Fire Country, where the extreme heat would suppress his germ fruit powers. In Wapol's eyes, though, Mushuru wasn't a monster, he was an idol. A hero. Mushuru, that guy just flicked his finger and destroyed 5 of my cannonballs. He even turned his finger into some weird paddle and smacked me halfway across the sea. Wapol shuddered at the memory. Mushuru paused, brows furrowed. His. You're right, that ability sounds dangerous. He wasn't stupid. Years of surviving in Fire Country had honed his instincts. But just when he started reconsidering, Shiragai provoked him again. Hey, you two, Shiragai said casually, drawing a circle on the snowy ground with his foot. I'll stay right here. If either of you can knock me out of this circle, I lose. Sound good? Mushuru's eyes twitched. His lips curled in a manic grin. You think I'm some kind of joke? Since you want to die so badly, I'll oblige. He vanished, reappearing high above, his body tilted with the wind. Raising his hands, he fired a barrage of violet-colored missiles. Parasitic missile. The moment they struck, needle-thin hyphae exploded outward, violently lashing the surroundings. Shiragai's body was instantly coated in a layer of glossy black armament haki. The hyphae shattered against him like twigs on steel, falling uselessly to the ground. Each of those hyphae was designed to pierce flesh, burrow into the bloodstream, and rapidly multiply until the host was sucked dry. Then, grotesque red fungi would burst from the corpse, spreading infectious spores to any living creature nearby. A single touch from those fungi would cause them to erupt again, repeating the carnage in a cycle of parasitic annihilation. Mushuru grimaced. TCH. He really is a problem. But he wasn't done. Awoo. Inhaling deeply, Mushuru's skinny body swelled like a balloon until he towered over even Wapol. Hovering above, he roared, fungal tornado. A kaleidoscope of spore powder spewed from his mouth. As the spores mixed, they fed off each other, twisting into a swirling vortex of fungal growth. From 1 meter, to 10, to 50. The tornado hit the ground with a roar, engulfing Shiragai and the surrounding snow in a mushroom-colored cyclone. When the storm finally passed, all that remained was a massive hill of multicolored fungi, mushrooms on mushrooms, stacked high like some grotesque layered cake. Mushuru snickered. He actually stayed in the circle? Fool. Now he's mushroom fertilizer. He's dead, right? Wapol beamed. Brother, that was amazing. You just one-shotted that smug pretty boy. Mushuru glared. I told you not to call me brother. But their celebration was cut short by a calm, familiar voice from within the mushroom mountain. Not bad. This devil fruit is pretty useful. Looks like I won't need to worry about fresh vegetables on the ship anymore. Eh? The brothers froze like statues, disbelief in their eyes. He's still alive. Impossible. Boom. A plume of white smoke burst from the heart of the mushroom mountain. Flames erupted, consuming the entire fungal mass. Mushuru turned ghostly pale. Fire. No, 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 put it out. Put it out. Don't panic, Mushuru. I've got it. Wapol morphed into emergency mode, gulping down snow and transforming his hands into extinguisher nozzles. He sprayed water frantically over the blaze. When the smoke finally cleared, what they saw stunned them. In the center of the scorched mountain, untouched snow remained in a perfect circle. And sitting cross-legged in that white patch, was Shiragai. Calm as ever. Holding a skewer of perfectly roasted, golden-brown matsutake mushrooms, he gave the brothers a friendly grin. Roasted matsutake tastes amazing. You two want some? Not bad. The taste is surprisingly fresh. Would have been perfect with a little more meat. Shiragai finished off the grilled matsutake mushrooms in his hand, dusted the snow off his coat, and stood up, adding with a calm tone. Nami and Chopper would probably love these mushrooms. Luffy, he's not the type to appreciate anything that doesn't fill his belly. Speaking of Luffy, Shiragai casually glanced at him, still buried in a mound of mushrooms, his skin slowly returning to its normal shade. Shiragai called out with a smirk. Whose meat is this? If no one's claiming it, I'll just toss it. Meat. Luffy's pale, sickly body shot up from the pile, his voice hoarse and desperate. Meat. Where? Oh no, a beautiful swordswoman snatched it already. Shiragai stepped outside the snowy clearing. With a single stride, he covered hundreds of meters and landed right in front of Luffy. Here, this'll do for now. He stuffed a handful of grilled matsutake into Luffy's mouth, and at the same time, his other hand gently brushed over Luffy's body, absorbing all internal toxins. Luffy's skin rapidly shifted from a deathly grey to a healthy bronze hue. Chomp, chomp. As he chewed, Luffy's eyes sparkled. Shiragai, is this meat? It's so good. Got more? I'm starving. All you think about is eating. We'll get to the meat later. First, I've got to clean up some trash. Shiragai flicked Luffy's forehead and turned to face the royal pests Wapol and Mashuru. The two brothers were inching toward the mountain trail, sneaking away under the cover of fleeing pirate soldiers. Heh, where do you think you're going? Wapol turned around, clearly annoyed. Damn it! This king was sneaking off so quietly. How did you still spot me? You bastard! How dare you use something as despicable as fire? You're just like that long-nosed freak. Mashuru's voice trembled with a mix of rage and fear. He still couldn't understand what kind of ability Shiragai had used to release such deadly flames. This guy, he's something else. The brothers exchanged glances, uneasy. They'd faced strong enemies before but never someone who so effortlessly dismantled their carefully crafted tactics. Wapol clenched his jaw. Mashuru, we've got no choice left. Mashuru nodded firmly. Let's do it. I'm ready. Wapol faced Shiragai, sneering. You forced this king's hand. Welcome the birth of despair. Munch munch factory brother fusion. Wapol's jaw widened unnaturally. In one horrifying gulp, he swallowed Mashuru, who had closed his eyes in concentration. Then he swallowed a massive cannon behind him. Luffy's jaw dropped. He just ate his own brother. Shiragai nodded, calm. That's the munch munch fruit. He can fuse anything he eats into himself, people, weapons, objects. After fusion, he gains their powers and strength. Heh. So you know about this king's greatness after all. Wapol chewed loudly. Moments later, his body started swelling. His muscles bulked up. His hair turned pink, and his face began to resemble Mashuru's. His arms morphed into twin cannons. A giant muzzle protruded from his head. Mushrooms sprouted across his body, including a mushroom tail and a strange clock on his abdomen. The mushroom pointer on the clock ticked, currently pointing to 8. Ahahaha. Witness the ultimate form. Mashuru Wapol Cannon. The Invincible Trinity. Now towering over 5 meters tall, Wapol looked down on Shiragai and Luffy, kicking away his own soldiers like they were nothing. His booming laugh echoed through the mountain pass. You're dead. Because you dared to provoke this king, I shall wipe out every ungrateful citizen in this country. We shall build a kingdom that obeys only us. He suddenly smacked his head. Wait, it's us. Idiot. He hit himself again. No, don't call me brother. We're one person now. Focus. Shiragai muttered, unbothered. Wapol clenched his massive fists. Fine. We kill the two pests first. Then unleash spore bombs to obliterate those traitorous citizens who dared to disrespect royalty. Ding. The mushroom pointer moved to 7. Whoosh. Wapol vanished and reappeared midair above Shiragai and Luffy, slamming down a massive steel punch. Close-range cannon strike. Both Shiragai and Luffy dodged nimbly to the side. Luffy held onto his straw hat and exclaimed. Whoa! He's huge, but he's fast too. Shiragai's voice was calm, analytical. Fusion boosted both his defense and speed, combining Mashuru's agility with Wapol's steel durability. Makes sense Blackbeard would be interested in an ability like this. Before he could say more, Wapol charged again. Double cannon blast. Shiragai stood still, unmoving, as the twin cannonballs blasted toward him. The cannonballs struck him, but instead of exploding, they bounced off harmlessly and shot straight back at Wapol. What? Boom. The cannonballs exploded on Wapol's chest. Slippery fruit modified second form, Returner. In this form, Shiragai deflects any projectile with enhanced velocity and zero friction. Wapol grunted, pushed back by the blast, but stood up again barely scratched. He'd eaten enough steel to withstand such attacks. Rage burned in his eyes. Damn you! What even is your ability? No one's supposed to eat more than one devil fruit. But you, what are you? Click. The mushroom pointer ticked to 5. You're always ruining everything for us kings. But this time, we will crush you. His hands returned to human form, now covered in pulsating, toxic blood mushrooms, forming sinister gauntlets. Poisonous corrosive mushroom punch. He smashed his fists into the ground. The gas alone from the punch melted the snow and corroded a pit into the frozen earth. Luffy jumped back, shocked. That's crazy poison. Wapol raised his fists triumphantly. Now, die. Wait. Shiragai tilted his head. What's that on your face? On my face. Wapol blinked, confused. What's there? Ah! Wapol rolled on the ground in agony. We must kill you. Luffy blinked as he watched the giant Wapol thrash around and burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, Shiragai, he's so dumb. Shiragai pointed at Wapol, as if observing some foolish child, and smiled at Luffy. See that? This is what happens when strength outpaces intelligence. Luffy, don't ever end up like him. A child's mind-wielding world-ending power only spells disaster. Luffy puffed out his chest proudly. No way, Shiragai. I'm way smarter than him. Dodon used to tell me I was a genius when I was a kid. Shiragai raised an eyebrow. Oh? What exactly did Dodon say? Luffy laughed heartily. She said, Luffy, you're a real genius. Shiragai sighed. Bastard, go to hell. Poison mushroom punch. Wapol, his face riddled like it had been gnawed by a dog, lunged toward the dazed Shiragai in a blind rage. Ha ha ha. Dodon might not have been wrong after all. Shiragai chuckled, casually countering with an armament haki-clad punch. Their fists collided. Crack, crack. The gauntlet, made of poisonous mushrooms, shattered instantly under Shiragai's blow. A spiraling force surged through Wapol's arm, tearing apart his armor and clothing in its path. Ah! What the hell is this? Wapol flailed, but the twisting force spread throughout his body, leaving him stark naked in the snow. Ding! The only thing left on him was a clock hanging from his neck. Its mushroom-shaped pointer now pointed to 3. Damn it! We're completely exposed. Wapol's voice rose in pitch as he covered himself in shame. You'll regret this. The spore great bomb I've been nurturing for over 10 years is almost ready. I'll wipe you all out. Dash. Inside the castle. Will Shiragai and Luffy be okay? Chopper, in human form, sprinted out of the castle, worry etched on his face. Usopp, still weak from illness, groaned from Chopper's back. Slow down. My head's spinning. Sanji jogged alongside them, reassuring Chopper. Relax, reindeer doctor. With Shiragai and Luffy out there, those clowns are no threat. Who are you calling reindeer doctor, you bastard human? But Chopper couldn't shake his anxiety. Dalton said those guys nearly destroyed this country 20 years ago. If he unleashes that poison bomb again, it could wipe out the entire kingdom. Sanji exhaled a puff of smoke. A guy who had to ambush me to win is no match for Shiragai. And Luffy can handle him in a fair fight. Chopper glared at Sanji's cigarette. You haven't fully recovered. Don't smoke, it'll slow your healing. Sanji shrugged. Sorry, Doc, not smoking'll slow my recovery. They arrived at the castle courtyard just in time to see the giant, naked Wapol roaring with laughter. Fools! The spore great bomb I've nurtured for 10 years is fully charged. All of you will die in agony. Behind him, a massive cannon muzzle glowed red hot, white smoke pouring out. No. He can't be allowed to fire that thing. Chopper froze, recalling Dr. Kurha's warning. If Mushuru fires the spore bomb, most here will die, and the survivors might suffer deformities. You must stop him. I won't let you do this. Without hesitation, Chopper hurled Usopp aside, his powerful reindeer legs launching him into a sprint. Jump boost! Wapol sneered as Chopper closed in. His hands morphed into cannons, firing 2 cannonballs. You think you can stop me now? Too late. No one can halt the spore great bomb. Chopper couldn't dodge in time. The explosions sent him rolling across the snow, black smoke trailing from his body. Why? Chopper looked up at Shiragai and Luffy, confused and hurt. Why are you letting him fire that cannon? You alright, reindeer? Luffy grinned, helping him up. Shiragai said he wants that bomb fired so he can get rid of its threat for good. I didn't really get it, but I trust him. Chopper turned to Shiragai, bewildered. Shiragai just smiled and stared at the laughing Wapol. As the pointer on Wapol's chest hit 8, the entire clock face flashed ominously. Wapol's body quivered as the gas bomb inside him yearned to be released. Alright, it's done. Ha ha ha, you worms will die now. Nation-destroying poison bomb, spore great bomb, fire. A huge fire blast erupted from the cannon behind Wapol's head. A massive black cannonball soared skyward. Everyone around the castle watched it ascend. Quick, gas masks on. The pirate soldiers followed instinctively, donning their gear. Gas masks. Wapol laughed cruelly. Fools. You think ordinary masks can withstand the poison I've cultivated for a decade? You're all going to hell too. Wapol-sama. The pirates were stunned. Never did they imagine their loyalty meant so little. Chopper's eyes widened in fury. No. It's been fired. I need to warn Dr. Kurha we'll have mass casualties. But Luffy grabbed him, still grinning. Relax, Shiragai's got it covered. Hi. Chopper turned back just in time to realize Shiragai had vanished. Sanji took a drag from his cigarette, watching the sky calmly. Told you, reindeer doctor, we've got more than one monster in this crew. Usopp weakly waved a hand. Shiragai, hurry up already. I need a nap. High in the sky, the cannonball reached its apex. The fuse burned down. Boom. The spore great bomb detonated in a dense burst of dark purple mist. But before the cloud could spread, a massive black mist surged through the sky. Mist prison. Shiragai had already transformed, his Logia body becoming an enormous mass of smoke that swallowed the poisonous cloud before it could descend. He absorbed every particle of toxin, then rapidly descended, reassembling into his human form. Ugh! He let out a small belch, rubbing his bloated stomach. Whew, that was potent. What? Our spore great bomb over a decade of work and you ate it. Wapol's jaw hit the ground with an audible thud. Eaten it. Chopper mirrored his shock, jaw dropping in disbelief. Hey! Shiragai, why are you turning purple? Chopper suddenly noticed that Shiragai's skin was rapidly shifting shades, and within seconds, he'd turned into a small purple figure. I told you not to eat random stuff. Quick, spit it out. Chopper's eyes bulged as he frantically yelled, Doctor! Where's the doctor? We need a doctor. Hey! Usopp stared at Chopper like he'd lost his mind. Aren't you the doctor? Chopper slapped both paws to his cheeks in horror. Oh right. I'm the doctor. Shiragai, let me check you right away. He rushed forward to examine him, but Shiragai casually stepped aside. Don't touch me, Chopper. At that moment, Shiragai's face was unsettling. His entire body had turned a deep shade of purple, like a misshapen sweet potato. I'm fine. It just hurts a little, Shiragai muttered through gritted teeth, his expression twisting from the intense pain surging through his body. That bastard actually swallowed all the poisonous spores himself. Watching the agony on Shiragai's face, Wapol clenched his teeth, then laughed gleefully under his breath. I might not have been able to kill everyone, but watching this smug pretty boy die in agony makes up for it. Struggle and suffer, you fool. The more Shiragai's expression contorted, the more delighted Wapol became. He, ah ha 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 ha. He laughed wildly, mocking, only idiots would throw their lives away for others. Good-hearted fools like you will always be the easiest to deal with. Shiragai, are you okay? Chopper transformed into his hybrid form, anxiously circling Shiragai. Though he knew the poison could be contagious, as a doctor, he couldn't just stand by. Please, let me check you. Just as Chopper braced himself to risk his life to save him, the pain vanished from Shiragai's face. In its place appeared a faint, casual smile. It hurts, it really hurts. Completely purple, Shiragai lowered his head and gave Chopper a soft smile. Relax, Chopper. I'm fine. I just wanted to know what it felt like to be poisoned this badly. The moment he finished speaking, the poison on his body visibly receded. Large patches of purple faded, the toxins gathering and condensing into his chest before vanishing altogether. Chopper's jaw dropped so hard his tongue curled up. Meanwhile, Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp wore entirely calm, unfazed expressions. Luffy laughed. Told you, reindeer. Shiragai'd be fine. Sanji coughed dryly. I'll never understand his weird hobbies. Usopp sighed. Yep. That's Shiragai messing with the enemy again. Shiragai turned toward the wide-eyed, naked Wapol and strolled over with a grin. Tada, I'm fine. Surprised? Didn't expect that, huh? The sight of the small, smiling Shiragai approaching made Wapol, despite being 5 meters tall, quake in fear. He lost his balance and collapsed onto the snow. Why you, what are you going to do? Don't come any closer. The naked Wapol squeezed his legs together, scrambling backward. We are the rightful king of this land, recognized by the world government. If you lay a hand on us, the Marines won't forgive you. We've dealt with admirals before. If you kill me, one of them will definitely come for you. Shiragai kept walking, his calm smile unwavering. If I kill you, they'll send an admiral. Wapol's eyes gleamed, thinking he'd regained the upper hand. Of course. We never lie. He straightened up and smirked. If we are killed, 2 admirals will descend upon Drum Island and hunt you to the ends of the Grand Line. Shiragai clapped his hands lightly. Now that's excellent news. Originally, I wasn't going to kill you. But if killing you brings an admiral here, I guess I'll have to reconsider. Wapol's expression froze, disbelief washing over him. Wait, do you understand what you're saying? He was baffled. To pirates, admirals were natural disasters, unbeatable forces. Why would anyone invite one? You lunatic. Wapol trembled violently, inching backward until he reached the edge of a towering cliff. Snow crumbled beneath him, and the icy wind howled from the abyss. There's no retreat. His breath caught in his throat. If he fell from here, he'd be nothing but a bloodstain in the snow. Wapol turned, desperate. Wait. This is all a misunderstanding. We didn't want to kill anyone, we are good people. Shiragai kept approaching, smiling. Is that so? Respected Pirate Sama, we can negotiate this. Wapol dropped to all fours, humbling himself. His face contorted into a pitiful smile, desperate to win his life back. We can give you anything you want. Treasure, jewels, beautiful women, servants, will even name you Vice King, Prince Protector. You'll sit by our side. To everyone's shock, Shiragai stopped just 2 meters from Wapol. He stroked his chin, pretending to consider it. You mean, you'll give me anything I want? Wapol's eyes sparkled. He thought his offer was working and patted his chest confidently. Absolutely. Just agree to be our subordinate, and you'll get the same privileges as us, a life of luxury above all others. In his heart, Wapol was ecstatic. If he could recruit this monster, he'd rule the entire region. What a stroke of luck. Shiragai grinned. In that case, I want you. Crack. The entire area went silent. Even Luffy scratched his head. Huh? Is Shiragai asking him to join the crew? Sanji's eye twitched. Please tell me he doesn't mean like that. Usopp gulped. Maybe he wants to turn him into a cyborg. Chopper shivered. Is he going to eat him? Wapol's face went pale as snow. Why you want us? What does that mean? Shiragai kept walking, his pressure suffocating. Do you agree? Unable to withstand the oppressive aura surrounding him, Wapol frantically nodded. Don't come any closer, we agree. Shiragai chuckled. Congratulations. You just saved your miserable life. Standing directly in front of him, Shiragai slammed his foot down onto Wapol's head, grinding his face into the snow. You didn't seriously think you and your brother could wreak havoc on this country and just apologize, did you? Since both of your devil fruit powers are somewhat useful, you'll spend the rest of your lives atoning for what you've done. Outside the castle, snowflakes fell without pause, covering everything in a thick, quiet blanket. Inside, a fire crackled in the stove, casting a warm glow across the room. In a small iron cell, Sanji stood alone, cigarette between his lips, watching with a disinterested gaze as 2 prisoners blamed each other. Wapol, bound tightly in chains, struggled on the ground, angrily kicking at Mushuru beside him. This is your fault. If your ability wasn't so useless, I wouldn't be in this miserable state. Mushuru, also chained, dodged the kick and retaliated with his own, snapping back defiantly. Ha! You idiot, if you hadn't run to Drum Kingdom begging for help after Blackbeard started hunting you, I wouldn't have even left my own country. No wonder your father exiled you. You were never fit to inherit the throne. And after you took it, you were so hated by your people you had to flee to sea like a coward. Sanji exhaled a puff of smoke, watching the 2 squabble on the floor. He recalled what Shiragai had told him earlier. Don't worry about them using their devil fruit powers. I've planted a thought in their minds. For now, they'll be too busy blaming each other to try anything. Dash. In the next room, Shiragai Yamakuro sat at a table with Dr. Kurha, the 2 deep in conversation over medical matters. Dr. Kurha remarked, impressed. For someone so young, your grasp of medical knowledge is vast. Before Shiragai could reply, Luffy bounded over, leaning across the table with a wide grin. Hey, old hag! Join our crew! Bang! Dr. Kurha's foot sent Luffy flying across the room. She elegantly flipped her hair, adjusting her sunglasses with one hand, and scoffed. Watch your mouth, brat! I'm still in the prime of my youth. Luffy landed on Usopp's bed, knocking heads with the sharpshooter. Ow! Luffy, I'm a patient, you idiot! Unfazed, Luffy leapt to his feet, grinning. Old hag, you've got guts. You'd make a great crewmate. Come adventure with us. Usopp rubbed his head and muttered, seriously. Just then, Luffy's gaze caught Chopper peeking nervously from around the doorframe. Aha! Reindeer! With a grin, Luffy changed targets, sprinting after Chopper. Come with us, reindeer. Pirates are the freest people in the world. Ah! Chopper squealed in a panic, tiny legs kicking wildly as he bolted. Don't run! Luffy chased him with reckless enthusiasm. Usopp, finally sitting upright, joined in, waving his arms. That's right, Chopper. Let's sail together. Become a brave warrior of the sea. Dr. Kurha sighed, shaking her head at the commotion before turning to Shiragai. That's Monkey D. Luffy, huh? So, he also carries the will of D. Shiragai lifted his teacup, the steam curling in the air as he spoke calmly. The will of D, huh? Seems you know quite a bit, Dr. Kurha. The old doctor took a swig from her wine bottle and smirked. I once knew a pirate with a D in his name. An unruly one. Let me guess, Shiragai said, eyes narrowing with a knowing smile. Gold Roger. Kurha neither confirmed nor denied it. She simply stared at the flickering flames in the hearth, her voice soft. A shame. I'll never see that interesting man again. Shiragai gave a slow nod. A pity, indeed. If I could have met the Pirate King in person, who knows what I might have gained from him. Of course, what Shiragai had in mind was the system's legendary loot feature, imagining what kind of rare skills or god-level treasure that encounter could have yielded. Unaware of his inner thoughts, Kurha assumed it was mere admiration. She crossed her legs and sighed. Roger would have liked a junior like you. That man never thought of himself as some great figure. Oh, right. Shiragai pulled a small key from his pocket and placed it on the table. This is the key to the armory at the top of the castle. I took it off Wapole earlier. Dr. Kurha picked it up, a sly smile on her face. So, you already know about Chopper's past, then? Shiragai nodded. I do. And I understand what kind of man Dr. Hiluluk was. The old doctor raised an eyebrow, curiosity flashing in her eyes. A doctor like you, with skills far beyond his, would acknowledge that quack? His medical techniques were barely worth mentioning. Shiragai's expression turned serious. An ordinary doctor heals the body. A great doctor heals the heart. Hiluluk might have been terrible at treating injuries, but he was unmatched at treating people's hearts. Kurha stared at the young man, her expression softening as old memories stirred. If that fool Hiluluk heard someone call him a great doctor, he'd strut around and brag for days. Shiragai chuckled. He deserves the praise. Even when his country was lost, when the people had given up, he still tried to save their hearts. That makes him a doctor worth remembering. The room fell quiet for a moment, save for the crackling fire and distant sound of Luffy chasing Chopper. At last, Kurha spoke. Chopper isn't cut out for the pirate life. The seas are far too cruel for him. Shiragai didn't argue. I know. He's kind, soft-hearted, but kindness alone solves nothing. Whether you're saving a life, or a nation. Kurha studied him, thoughtful. You understand that. Yet, I don't see resignation in your eyes. Shiragai met her gaze without flinching. Chopper might be too kind, but so what? Since when do we only do what's suitable? He smiled, setting his cup down. Our captain isn't calm, isn't clever, isn't steady. But he's our captain, and no one doubts it. Our navigator is a girl obsessed with money, but her skills improve every day. Even though she risks her life constantly, we trust her to lead us. Kurha glanced over at Nami, still unconscious on the bed. We have a three-sword-style swordsman, reliable in combat. If I hadn't joined, he would have been the vice-captain. Even poisoned and tossed into the sea, I'm not worried about him. He's the kind who could cut his way out of hell itself. At that, Nami, pretending to be asleep, cracked one eye open and listened quietly. So, he thinks of us like that. She quickly shut her eye again, her heart a little lighter. Shiragai and Dr. Kurha exchanged glances. They both could tell from Nami's breathing that she was awake, simply pretending to sleep. But with mutual understanding, neither of them exposed her little secret. The sniper in our crew is a very timid guy, Shiragai began, his tone casual. He's terrified of anyone stronger than him and wouldn't hesitate to toss away his pride just to survive. But that same coward, when his friends are in danger, will risk his life without hesitation. He'll stand between them and death, just to protect their dreams. Dr. Kurha raised an eyebrow thoughtfully. That long-nosed guy. She remembered how, earlier during surgery, despite being the one with worse injuries, he'd begged her to treat the curly-browed cook first. Clutching his arm, the sniper had sobbed, "Woo-woo. If Sanji hadn't saved me, he wouldn't have lost to that mushroom guy. Sanji got hurt protecting me. How could I get treated first?" Eventually, fed up, Kurha had knocked him out cold just so she could get on with the treatment. Shiragai set his empty milk teacup down with a smile. Our cook is a strange one. You must have noticed something unusual with your expertise, right? Dr. Kurha gave a slight nod. That curly-browed kid's recovery is remarkable. His body seems altered. Someone once asked me to help with research like that. Tried to recruit me. I refused. Nami, still under the blanket, was shocked. Sanji was modified? Shiragai crossed his fingers, leaned back in the chair, and said calmly, he might be a bit more perverted than most, but he's never crossed a line. His family dragged him into the dark early. But instead of sinking, he lit himself up, became a beacon for others lost in that same darkness. Dr. Kurha glanced at him with a grin. You've gone on about everyone else. What about you, Shiragai-san? He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them with a soft smile. Compared to them, I'm plain. No grand origin, no impressive power. Just an average guy from an average home, dreaming of adventure. By some twist of fate, I ended up meeting the people I'd only imagined, and when the chance came, I stepped aboard their ship without hesitation. From the bed, Nami silently grumbled. Ordinary? If Shiragai calls himself ordinary, then there might not be a single exceptional soul left in this world. Shiragai's voice remained light. They don't know where I came from, but from the day they accepted me, they've never doubted me. Even blindly trusted me. Truth is, I'm not as warm as they think I am. Dr. Kurha stood, fetched a bottle of unopened wine from the cabinet, then returned and Saturday. So, after all this talk, what is it you're really trying to say, Shiragai-san? He spread his hands, straightforward. I'm saying that Chopper's kindness isn't rare. Many of us carry that same pure heart. If you want him to grow into a proper doctor, let him come with us. Trust him to make his own way. Dr. Kurha snorted, then looked him dead in the eye. So you want me to hand over the child I treat like a son, to a pirate crew? Would you give your son to a bunch of thieves? Nami, under the blanket, flared up in silent anger. How dare she scold Shiragai like that? Yet, Shiragai simply smiled, unmoved. We're not saints. Just people drawn together by chaos and coincidence. We joined this crew and set sail because of one man's invitation. Luffy's. He's a reckless captain, but genuine. Pirates are still pirates. A thief doesn't suddenly become a hero. We don't think of ourselves as heroes. Just adventurers doing wild things under a pirate flag. Luffy would never allow us to rob the innocent. With our strength, we won't starve anywhere. That said, if the target's another pirate crew or a corrupt group, then yes, we'll plunder without hesitation. He leaned forward slightly, voice intensifying. Have you ever heard the saying? He who steals a hook is executed, but he who steals a nation becomes a ruler. This is the great pirate era, ignited by the Pirate King, Gold Roger. It burns with ambition and danger. Many will fall, chasing that treasure. But one day, someone will reach it. And only then will we understand what One Piece truly is. Dr. Kurha watched him silently. Shiragai continued, this era doesn't need the complacent. It needs warriors brave enough to challenge the world's throne. Sure, Chopper might live safely here on Drum Island. But who can guarantee that safety will last? One day, maybe a beam of light will fall from the sky and wipe this place out. And the reason? Maybe some noble thought the name Drum Island sounded unpleasant. Kurha's eyes widened. What are you planning? Shiragai stood and walked toward the door, answering without turning back, I'll gather power, spread it quietly, build it where no one sees. One day, it might be the force that flips this world upside down. She narrowed her eyes. You realize what kind of enemies that'll draw out once they discover your plan. With a small smile, he replied, I'm not worried. When it comes to individual strength, I don't believe I'll lose to anyone. Even if they're part of the world government's strongest force, the admirals. Dr. Kurha took a deep sip of wine, slammed the bottle on the table, and laughed wildly. Looks like Chopper's about to join a very interesting crew. The vice-captain's ambitions are terrifying. Fine. I'll agree to let him go. But only if he himself chooses to leave. I won't force him. Admiral. Nami trembled under the blanket, stunned. He's not just ready to fight warlords, he's already thinking about admirals. Her nose wrinkled as tears stung her eyes. No, Jaiko. I wanna go home. At the top of the castle, Chopper sat alone, hugging his knees, deep in thought. It's so quiet now. I guess they've stopped chasing me. He looked up at the cherry blossom skull flag fluttering in the moonlight, recalling a conversation from long ago with his foster father, Dr. Hyriluk. Doctor, what exactly is a pirate? A pirate? A pirate is someone powerful out on the sea. They've got strong bodies, sharp eyes like mine, and voices that boom like thunder. Doctor, you've got some sleep in your eye. Hey! Chopper! Why didn't you tell me that sooner? You did that on purpose, didn't you? He he he. Chopper blinked his large round eyes, his mind wandering back to what happened earlier that day. Shiragai had crouched down, handing him a carefully prepared dose of medicine and gently patting his cheek. Chopper, how about becoming the Straw Hat Pirate's doctor? Huh? But Shiragai-san, don't you already have a doctor on board? Why ask me to join? Maybe it's just for the gesture. Honestly, I'm not a real doctor. I've never had any lofty ideals about saving lives. Even if someone collapsed right in front of me, I'd probably just step over them if I wasn't in the mood. Shiragai-san. That's terrible. Humph, maybe. But I've never considered myself a doctor, just someone who knows medicine. What if someone gets sick one day and I don't feel like treating them? That's why this ship needs someone like you. Someone with Dr. Hyriluk's spirit and Dr. Kurha's skill. You're so willful. Chopper recalled Shiragai's expression as he spoke and muttered softly to himself. Shiragai-san is really so willful. Shouldn't great medical skills always be used to help people? Reindeer. Join us. Come sail the seas. Chopper then thought of the two weird guys who had been chasing him all day. They called themselves pirates and couldn't stop smiling. Hey reindeer! Being a pirate is awesome. You get to sing, dance, go on wild adventures. Do pirates really go on adventures like that? Just like the doctor used to talk about. Doctor? Who's that? Anyway, of course they do. Pirates risk everything for adventure. And you'll meet loads of strong people too. That's what the doctor used to say. But now, after a long silence, Chopper didn't hear them anymore. The voices had faded away. He hung his head slightly, whispering to himself. Guess they gave up. Rustle. The flag fluttered in the wind. Chopper looked up and, in the moonlight, imagined Dr. Heroic smiling down at him. You should sail too, Chopper. Out on the sea, you'll realize how small your troubles really are. Chopper shook his head, trying to scatter the lingering thoughts. Doctor, it's peaceful now. No one's bothering me. I'm just a monster, and yet, I still dream of going to sea. Monster? That's a word I know well. A voice rang out suddenly behind him. Wah! Chopper flailed in a panic, nearly tumbling off the roof. He managed to latch onto a groove just in time. Who's there? He turned around cautiously and saw Shiragai standing there calmly, smiling. Shiragai-san. Shiragai walked over and sat beside him. Just taking a walk, Chopper. Pretend I'm not here. Okay. Chopper blinked and slowly scooted to the side, widening the distance between them. Shiragai didn't speak further. He simply gazed up at the full moon. When Chopper noticed the silence dragging on, he also looked up at the moon, growing confused. Was Shiragai trying to convince him to join the crew? He remembered how Shiragai had defeated Wapol and Mushuru earlier in the day. That scene still lingered in his mind, how the two combined forces couldn't even touch him. Chopper had fought Dalton once, who had the power of the ox fruit, bison form, and even then, he was no match. Yet Shiragai had taken down both Wapol and Mushuru without breaking a sweat. Shiragai-san is, incredibly strong. Still, Chopper found it strange. He couldn't sense the aura of a powerful fighter from that ever-smiling face. Back in the wild, powerful animals could be judged by their looks. Chopper was still influenced by that instinct. Hey, reindeer! Come be a pirate with us. I'm not giving up. Suddenly, a voice echoed from below, breaking the silence. Hi! Chopper peeked down from the castle rooftop. A small dot below was hopping up and down. He's lying, he's still searching for me. Chopper panicked and bounced in place. Luffy doesn't give up. He's persistent. Shiragai smiled, still looking upward. Chopper turned to him. Go give Luffy your answer, whether it's yes or no. All right. Chopper hesitated, then stood and prepared to climb down. But just before he moved, Shiragai said one more thing. Chopper. I've been called a monster too by people who feared me. So, here's my advice. If enemies call you a monster, that's a sign of fear. That's a badge of honor. If your friends call you a monster, that means they admire your strength. And if random strangers call you a monster, who cares what they think? Chopper paused, stunned. He turned and looked at Shiragai, then nodded gratefully. Thank you, Monster Doctor. As Chopper began hopping down level by level, Shiragai looked back up at the moon, his smile growing. Another crewmate. Down below. When Chopper finally appeared, Luffy raised his hand and called out joyfully. Hey, Chopper! You coming to be a pirate? Chopper lowered his head, his voice trembling. I'm really thankful that you invited me, but I'm a reindeer. I've got hooves, antlers, and a blue nose. Luffy said nothing, just watched him calmly. Chopper suddenly raised his head and shouted. I want to join you. But I'm not human, I'm a monster. Monsters like me can't be your crew, right? Nami stood silently at the castle entrance, watching him tremble. Sanji stood quietly, cigarette in hand, nursing a sore waist. Usopp clenched his fists, teeth gritted, not saying a word. Seeing their reactions, Chopper's voice grew more unsteady. Thank you, all of you. But I'll stay here. If fate lets us meet again, I'll come running. If you ever miss me, just come back here. So annoying. Luffy's voice roared out, cutting him off. Come with us. Nami, Sanji, and Usopp shouted together. That's right, come with us. Chopper froze. Tears filled his eyes, and he bit his lip hard. Then, a hand rested warmly on his hat, and a familiar voice spoke. Chopper, look. They don't care what you are. So come with us. Shiragai-san. Chopper looked up at him. The dam broke. He leapt into Shiragai's arms, crying loudly. Wah wah wah. He sobbed uncontrollably, all his past grief and loneliness pouring out at once. Tears soaked into Shiragai's coat, the same coat untouched by enemy blood. And in that moment, Chopper finally understood. This is what it feels like, to have a family. To have crewmates. To have nakama. Gurgle, gurgle, Gurgle. Dalton lay alone in his room, listening to the sounds outside. Former pirate crew soldiers, now inspired to turn over a new leaf, were busy moving cannons. He had taken several arrows and inhaled Mushuru's poisonous spores, causing his heart to stop more than once. Luckily, the regenerative powers of the bison fruit allowed Dalton to survive such a close brush with death. How should Wapol be dealt with? Though tyrannical and absurd, Wapol was still the officially recognized monarch of the Drum Kingdom. The world government wouldn't ignore his defeat. If they found out he'd been overthrown by his own citizens with the help of pirates, they would likely dispatch marines for investigation. That meant Wapol and Mushuru might be released. And if they returned with the marines' support, this land would once again fall under oppressive rule. Dalton clenched his fists. A dangerous thought surfaced. Kill them. The idea whispered louder each moment, fed by the fury simmering in his heart. What, you plan to kill them? A voice broke the silence, light and amused. Dalton jolted. Who's there? He leapt out of bed, grabbing his weapon and pointing it at the windowsill. Under the silver moonlight sat Shiragai Yamakuro, smiling faintly as he gazed in. Shiragai casually observed him. Impressive. As expected from a Zoan user. Your vitality and recovery are leagues ahead of most. Indeed, Zoan users were known for their physical resilience, strong bodies, rapid healing. Ideal for fearless fighters, not necessarily the sharpest minds. Recognizing him, Dalton relaxed slightly. It's you. What brings you here, Shiragai-san? I'm not interested in this country, Shiragai said calmly. Dalton's heart skipped. He had just suspected this pirate might desire control of Drum Kingdom, yet Shiragai had already seen through him. Yes, you guessed right. I can read your thoughts. Shiragai's statement confirmed it. Dalton stared in disbelief. Don't be so tense, Shiragai continued, smiling. I'm not a good person. Dalton gulped. But I'm not a bad one either. Dalton sighed, exasperated. So what do you want from me? He placed his weapon aside and sat back down, nerves frayed. If you're after money, our kingdom has nothing left. Shiragai raised a finger and waved it playfully. Relax. I just want to have a little chat. Dalton frowned, unsure. All right. If it's within my power, I'll listen. Shiragai's eyes narrowed. It's simple. I need you to. Several minutes later, Dalton sat drenched in cold sweat. He had held his breath multiple times during Shiragai's explanation. By the end, his lungs ached. You're not joking, he stammered. That's a celestial dragon. Dalton trailed off, unable to say more. The implications were terrifying. He looked at Shiragai with renewed awe and fear. The pirate's ambitions weren't about riches or control. They were something much more dangerous, something that threatened the foundations of the world government. Do I look like I'm joking? Shiragai asked quietly. Dalton shuddered. But if that's true, this entire island could face a buster call. Shiragai didn't respond. Dalton hesitated, then said bitterly, You overestimate me, Shiragai-san. I doubt I'll be of much use in this. And aren't you afraid I'll expose everything? Shiragai stepped down from the windowsill and walked over. He gently patted Dalton's shoulder. I wouldn't have told you if I were worried. Besides, you now have a choice. He snapped his fingers. System command confirmed. Memory seal applied. You won't even remember this unless I call upon you, Shiragai added. Dalton stared for a long moment before finally nodding. I'll follow your command. Shiragai smiled, pleased. Good. You've made a wise choice. Dalton's eyes slowly closed. He slumped onto the bed, asleep. Dash. Meanwhile, inside the castle. Ah! Dr. Kurha, stop throwing axes at me. Chopper dashed through the halls, dodging an onslaught of flying weapons. Humph. You're talking about joining a pirate crew? I won't let you escape that easily. Dr. Kurha shouted, hurling another spear. The former pirate soldiers nearby were baffled by the chaos until a near miss almost took one of them out. Take cover. The castle erupted in frantic energy and shouting, breaking the long silence that had always plagued it. Woohoo! Shiragai is awesome. Luffy cheered at the front gates. He, Usopp, and the others were building snowmen. Their centerpiece was a massive snow chopper built by Shiragai, earning praise from everyone. Hearing the ruckus inside, Sanji glanced toward the noise. What's going on in there? Nami crossed her arms. Can't they let the master and apprentice have a quiet goodbye? I'm sorry, Dr. Kurha. But I want to go out to sea. I want to see the world. Chopper burst into the storeroom, grabbed a sled, and shifted into his beast form. Dr. Kurha's spear grazed his ear as he ran. Get back here. What can someone like you even do out there? I won't run from this. Chopper shouted over his shoulder. Dr. Heroics' research is finished. He told me himself. That fool, Kurha whispered, halting for just a second. Chopper pulled the sled outside. Hurry, he cried. She's coming to kill us. Kill us. Usopp gasped just as a flail flew toward him. They all piled into the sled in a panic. With a mighty leap, Chopper latched onto the cable line stretched between mountains and began ascending. Dalton, now without memory of Shirogai's visit, stood quietly beside Dr. Kurha. He glanced at her expression cold but eyes red at the corners. Is this really the best way to say goodbye? He asked gently. I hate tearful farewells, she muttered, wiping snow from her face. Then, without warning, she turned to the soldiers. Ready the cannons. Dozens of cannons fired skyward, releasing pink powder shells into the air. The flakes mixed with snow, falling gently like cherry blossoms. From the mountains, the sled slowed as the Straw Hats looked up. Whoa! Look at that! Nami held out her hands. Pink snowflakes. They look like sakura petals. Shirogai caught one gently. A farewell in cherry snow. He smiled faintly. That was the foolish doctor's dream. To make snow fall like cherry blossoms, to soothe people's hearts. Chopper stopped and stared. The mountain behind them, now bathed in pink snow, looked like an enormous sakura tree. He transformed into his hybrid form, tears streaming down his cheeks. Dash. When do people die? Is it when they're shot? Is it when they fall to illness? Is it when they drink poison? No. People truly die when they are forgotten. Even if I'm gone, my dream will live on. The people's hearts will heal. I lived a good life. Thank you, Chopper. Your loving adoptive father, Hero. Look. Cherry blossoms fell gently, casting the scene in a dreamlike haze. Gazing at the drifting petals, Dr. Kurha stood on a cliff, tears already flowing down her aged cheeks. Her eyes lingered on the vast sea under the starlit sky as she murmured to herself. If you want to be a pirate, then go. Chopper, you foolish son. In the distance, Dalton watched silently, not daring to disturb the elderly doctor. Around him stood the 20 doctors who had once been confined under Wapol's tyranny. Now, they gathered with reverence, fully recognizing Dalton as the rightful ruler of their country. Dalton looked up at the pirate flag adorned with cherry blossoms fluttering above the castle. Hero, look, your son has gone to sea with a remarkable pirate crew, he said softly. Rest easy. Your spirit lives on in us. Just then, a guard dashed up the mountain path, panting heavily. Dalton-san. A newspaper from several days ago just arrived. It was delayed somehow. Please, take a look at these wanted posters. Dalton took the posters and froze upon seeing the familiar faces. Straw Hat Pirates Vice Captain, the Plunderer Shiragai Yamakuro Bounty, 100 million berries. Straw Hat Pirates Captain, Straw Hat Luffy Bounty, 30 million berries. Gasps echoed among the gathered doctors. What? Their combined bounty is already 130 million berries? That's insane. They had spent months at sea under Wapol's command as unwilling ship doctors aboard the tin-plate pirates' vessel, facing numerous pirate crews. Despite their misfortunes, the pirates had proven strong, crushing most opposition. Wapol would devour enemy ships using his ability, forcing enemy pirates to abandon ship and flee. They had even encountered some notorious figures like the outlaw Madman, with a bounty of 50 million berries, and the sharpshooter known as Sea Arrow, with a 20 million berries bounty. These were formidable enemies with well-staffed ships. And yet, the Straw Hat crew, with barely a handful of members, had already surpassed those larger crews in notoriety. As expected, they aren't just some wandering upstarts, Dalton said with a rare smile of relief. With a captain and vice-captain like that, the rest of their crew is bound to shake the world soon. Dr. Kurha walked over, snatched the posters from Dalton's hand, studied them briefly, and chuckled. Hat. A vice-captain worth 100 million berries and a captain worth 30 million? That's quite the criminal pair. Straw Hat Luffy, one of the guards muttered, scratching his head. I think I've heard that name before. He perked up suddenly. Oh right. About a week ago, a strange traveler showed up in Robble Town. It was one of the rare days it didn't snow. He said he was looking for Blackbeard, who had attacked our country. When he learned Blackbeard had already escaped, he told me, if you ever see a pirate with a straw hat, tell him I'll be waiting in Alabasta. Dalton crossed his arms in thought. Hunting Blackbeard alone? That kind of man isn't ordinary. The guard's eyes widened as he recalled something. That's right. He said his name was Ace. Dalton nodded slowly. Ace? Regardless, they're all heading to Alabasta anyway. Dr. Kurha tossed the posters back to Dalton and sat down, staring at the moonlit sea. So, what do you plan to do with Wapol and Mushuru? Dalton couldn't suppress a sly grin. That pirate already took care of them. Honestly, what he did fits those two scumbags perfectly. You should come see for yourself, Kurha-san. Oh? Now I'm curious. She followed Dalton through the castle until they reached the room where the two former tyrants had been imprisoned. Upon entering, Kurha's eyes widened. What in the world is this? At the center of the room stood a 2-meter-tall mechanical box. Its conveyor tracks rotated endlessly as pirate soldiers and guards placed sand and stones onto them. The materials were pulled into the box, and after a few seconds, emerged on the other side as solid bricks. The workers quickly transported these bricks to restore the castle's crumbling walls. Dalton pointed at the box, laughing. You don't recognize him? This is Wapol. Suddenly, two tiny eyes popped open on the side of the box, eyes unmistakably Wapol's. Which? Dalton. They swiveled around menacingly as a robotic voice echoed from inside. You wretched peasants! How dare you treat me like this? When I break free, I'll make you suffer. Is that really? Wapol. Dr. Kurha circled the mechanical box, barely believing her eyes. How was this done? Inside the box, Wapol's robotic voice roared in fury. That damned pirate! He stole my devil fruit powers. Turned me into some kind of machine. When I escape, I'll turn him into one too. Wapol, you're noisy as ever, Dalton muttered. He approached the control panel and pressed a red button marked with a crossed-out mouth. Instant silence. Kurha blinked. This was done by Shiragai. Dalton nodded. He said it was through the power of his devil fruit. Wapol is now a processing machine. Feed raw materials into the track, and select a product to produce. Dr. Kurha leaned over the panel and spotted dozens of selection buttons, over 100, actually. To demonstrate, Dalton signaled the guards to feed in some fabric, sand, and fluff, and pressed a button shaped like a toy with antlers. Creak, creak. Seconds later, a dozen plush chopper-shaped dolls rolled out. Dr. Kurha picked one up, examining it with mixed awe and horror. A chopper doll? That's twisted. It's very popular with children, a guard chimed in proudly. My daughter absolutely adores them. Kurha chuckled despite herself. So, Chopper is beloved by kids. Dalton continued. That pirate turned Wapol into this to atone for all the suffering he caused this land. He gestured for her to follow. Mushuru's in another room. They entered a pitch-black chamber. A torch was lit, revealing a grotesque scene. In the center of the room was a thick wooden pillar stretching to the ceiling, covered in mushrooms. At the top sat a pink wooden head. Mushuru's lifeless expression stared down at them. Kill me, Dalton, please, just kill me. The head groaned. Kurha recoiled. How did he end up like this? Dalton shrugged. Shiragai did this too. Don't ask me how. Suddenly, Mushuru's wooden face contorted in rage, and the entire pillar shook. He's a demon. A monster. He turned me into this thing. I'll never forgive him. As the pillar trembled, small mushrooms rapidly grew, plumped, and fell to the ground in waves. New ones immediately began to grow. Kurha stared in silent disbelief. Dalton explained calmly. As long as the pillar is agitated, mushrooms will keep growing. Just water the base occasionally. There's enough here to feed every citizen on Drum Island. Kurha didn't respond. Her expression was unreadable. If she'd ever visited Earth, she might have understood this was madness. They stepped back outside into the moonlight. But Kurha's mind was troubled. Was it truly wise to let Chopper follow a man like that? Shiragai Yamakuro hadn't just defeated Wapol and Mushuru, he had broken them, forcing them to live on in torment, unable to die. A man like that. He was terrifying. Dash. Achoo. On board the Going Merry, Shiragai Yamakuro sneezed lightly. He rubbed his nose and glanced around, puzzled. Is some beautiful woman thinking about me again? On board the Going Merry. Chopper sat at the stern, watching pink snowflakes drift beneath the moonlight, as Drum Island grew smaller behind them. I'm leaving, Dr. Kurha. My adventure is finally beginning. Behind him, the crew was in full swing. Dash. Sanji, leaning on the mast, jeered at Zoro. Aha! You swordsman, you got ambushed and took a swim. Zoro, arms crossed and fuming. You curly brow, weren't you ambushed too? Sanji smirked. Idiot, I was saving Usopp. You just weren't paying attention. Zoro ran his fingers along his blade. We both got ambushed, stop making excuses. Usopp nudged Zoro. At least you didn't get lost. You still made it back to the Merry. Zoro glanced over at Luffy, who was hilariously jamming chopsticks into his face. Vivi couldn't help laughing. He climbed the wrong mountain thinking it was the dock, then got caught in an avalanche. I found him stranded in my village. Seeing all this, Shiragai, sipping milk tea, calmly sprayed Usopp. Pfft. Usopp was speechless. Sanji burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, who hikes a mountain to find a dock? Zoro, fuming, reached for his sword. Sanji raised his fists. Want a piece of me? Luffy then trotted over, making outrageous faces, sending the whole group into fresh laughter. Dash. Luffy grabbed Shirogai's arm. Hey, Shirogai, make faces with me. Shirogai scowled, stretched his face using his rubber fruit powers into a ridiculous meme expression, and asked deadpan. Like this. Luffy collapsed in laughter, the chopsticks flying out. Even Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp couldn't stop chuckling as their earlier feud evaporated. Chopper, drawn in by the uproar, was handed chopsticks by Shirogai and Luffy. Do this, Chopper. Even Nami was amused when she wasn't scolding Shirogai. Hey, don't corrupt him. Shirogai only grinned and chased her. Eventually, Chopper caved and laughed harder than anyone. Dash. After the laughter subsided, they gathered for a feast. Shirogai and Sanji prepared a deck-wide banquet in record time. Under the full moon and the Straw Hat flag, the Straw Hat pirates raised cups high, even giving one to Duck. Usopp toasted. To our new crew member, Chopper. Cheers. Everyone cheered as the Going Merry sailed away, Drum Island disappearing from view. Chopper, shyly tipsy, admitted. Hehe, this is my first time drinking alcohol. I don't really like it, but it's nice being with you all. They all laughed warmly at his honest, bashful admission. Dash. Later, Zoro and Sanji engaged in a boozy challenge. Zoro taunted Sanji. Can't handle your drink, perverted cook. Sanji stood firm. Bring it, green algae head. Their wooden mugs clanged as they tried to outdrink each other, encouraged by Luffy and Usopp. Dash. Meanwhile, Shirogai noticed something in the water, a pod of sea creatures approaching. He calmly activated Conqueror's Haki, extending it downward. Immediately, the creatures panicked and fled. Dash. Drunk and overwhelmed, Chopper tumbled into Shirogai's arms, and was fast asleep in seconds. Shirogai gently pinched Chopper's cheek. First-time drinker, hi, you'll have a headache in the morning. He chuckled and returned to his mug. Dash. Morning after. Groans filled the deck, headaches all around. Shirogai surveyed the hungover crew. What a troublesome bunch. They can't hold their drink, yet they push themselves to the limit. Meanwhile, Nami stood at the bow, focused on the sea ahead. She called to Shirogai. Heavy rains up ahead. Let's steer away from it. It was the 4th day since they had left Drum Island. Luffy. Why is the refrigerator empty? Shirogai and Sanji each pinched one of Luffy's cheeks. Shirogai flicked Luffy's stretched face and sighed, annoyed. TCH, looks like just locking the fridge isn't enough. Even electricity wouldn't stop him. Rubber doesn't conduct, after all. Sanji yanked Luffy's face even harder, yelling. Hey! That was all the food on board. What the hell are we supposed to eat now? Luffy's eyes darted around nervously as his cheeks were stretched. I didn't sneak any food. Sanji didn't buy it and sent Luffy flying with a swift kick. Liar! Who else could it be if not you? Nami and Vivi stood near the orange grove, watching with arms crossed. Nami raised a brow and teased. With Luffy's intelligence, I doubt he opened the fridge lock on his own. He had help. Hee. Vivi giggled beside her. Usopp, Chopper, and Karoo froze mid-bite, still chewing the evidence. They trembled as they quickly swallowed the stolen food. Just when they thought they were safe, a shadow loomed behind them. A cheerful voice made their blood run cold. Nami's right. There had to be a lockpicker, someone to keep watch, and one to transport the goods. Shirogai draped his arms around their shoulders, grinning as he leaned in. So, who do you think Luffy's partners in crime were? Usopp, the unofficial lock expert, let out a dry chuckle. There's someone else who can pick locks. Chopper, the lookout, began sweating bullets. I wasn't watching. Karoo, the transport bird, trembled violently. Quack. I'm innocent. You're getting bolder by the day. Coordinating to steal food, huh? Chopper, you better not start picking up bad habits from these guys. Shirogai delivered a light punch to each of their heads. Each of you, go catch something edible. If you don't, we're having rubber roast with long nose, reindeer stew, and duck offal for dinner. Pouting, the group fished half-heartedly by the side of the ship. Chopper rubbed his head, grumbling softly. Wah, Shirogai's so mean. He's nothing like how he used to be as Dr. Shirogai. Totally agree. Vivi, unnoticed, puffed her cheeks and nodded firmly. Oi, look over there. Zoro, who was on lookout, pointed toward the fog ahead. The sea looks thick with mist. Should we steer around it? Shirogai and Nami exchanged a knowing glance. No need, Nami replied with a calm smile. That's natural steam fog. There's a volcano under the sea here, constantly releasing magma. The boiling water creates clouds of vapor. Shirogai nodded. In a few thousand, or maybe tens of thousands of years, a new island might rise here. That's how most islands are born. Whoa! That's awesome. Luffy shouted. Shiragai, I'm hungry. Sanji, food. Shiragai raised his hand, and from his palm, several large mushrooms grew rapidly. For now, let's enjoy some mushroom dishes. Sanji took the mushrooms from Shiragai, nodding in approval. These are high quality. I'll whip something up. The two headed into the kitchen. Shiragai casually grew a few more non-toxic, edible mushrooms. Sanji prepared a savory mushroom soup using the last bits of meat left, while Shiragai roasted the mushrooms. Soon, the going merry was filled with mouth-watering aroma. Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp tried to sneak into the kitchen repeatedly, only to be kicked out every time by Sanji and Shiragai without even glancing up. You! What is that thing? Is he even human? Wait, did he fall into the sea? Suddenly, the deck erupted with noise. Sanji raised a brow from the kitchen. What now? Shiragai, already aware thanks to his observation haki, muttered. Heh! We've got an interesting guest. He calmly plated the roasted mushrooms, turned off the stove, and stepped outside. Ha! I really thought I was done for. Can't believe I survived. A soaking wet figure lay sprawled across the deck. He wore exaggerated makeup, fake eyelashes, and a ridiculous pink ballet swan costume, complete with two wing-like decorations on his shoulders. Mr. Two-Bone Clay sat cross-legged, panting as he looked at the crew, eyes sparkling with gratitude. You've saved me. I owe you my life. Truly, I'll never forget this. Then his nose twitched. Oh, I smell food. Might I trouble you for something warm? Zoro scowled. We're starving too. We don't have food for you. Just then, the kitchen door opened, and Shiragai stepped out holding a plate. Host has observed, user of the clone fruit. Comprehended, the ability to transform into anyone as long as you remember. Host has observed, master of advanced human demon fist. Ability understood, perfected human demon fist. Host has observed, master of dance techniques. Ability understood, master level dance techniques. Devil fruit acquired, clone fruit. Shiragai crouched and set the plate beside Mr. Two. Warm yourself up with this. Woo. Handsome and kind. You're an angel. Come, let me hug you. Bone Clay lunged with arms wide, but Shiragai stepped aside casually. No thanks. I've already received my reward. Bone Clay's eyes twinkled as he winked flirtatiously. Oh my, what a charming young man. I like you even more. Shiragai looked disgusted, avoiding the wink. Sorry. I'm only interested in normal women. From the side, Vivi pouted. I don't believe him. Pirate Sans never looked at me that way either. Bone Clay chomped down on the mushrooms. Delicious. I feel completely rejuvenated. Luffy crouched, staring at him curiously. He, you can't swim either. Bone Clay beamed. Indeed. I've eaten a devil fruit. Usopp leaned forward. Which one? Let me show you. Without warning, Bone Clay pressed his hand against Luffy's face. Zoro nearly drew his blade, but froze when he saw what happened next. Before them stood another Luffy only with mismatched eyes and an exaggerated grin. He. Just a performance. Don't panic. The crew stared, stunned. Shiragai chuckled. With the clone fruit and system's ability, the host can now transform into anyone. In other words, if Shiragai desired, he could become anyone. Luffy stared at his double with wide eyes, grinning from ear to ear. There's two of me. That's so cool. He, scared yet? Mr. Two-Bone Clay smirked. All I need is a touch to my face with my left hand to change back. With a dramatic flourish, he reverted to his original, bizarre appearance, flashing a proud grin. This is the power of the clone fruit I ate. The crew gasped in shock. Not only the face, but even the voice and height are identical. Usopp exclaimed. And that's not all. Bone Clay said proudly. I can store everyone I touch. One by one, he tapped the Straw Hat Pirates on the shoulder until he reached out toward Shiragai, who subtly tilted his head back and avoided the contact. In the same motion, Shiragai tapped his own face with a calm backhand. Preparation complete. Bone Clay announced cheerfully. Now, with just a touch of my right hand. Suddenly, Usopp's face appeared on him, complete with the iconic long nose. Usopp stared at his mirrored image in horror, utterly speechless. Then Mr. Two placed his hand on his face again, transforming into a lopsided-eyed Zoro, smirking. I can become anyone I've stored. In rapid succession, he changed into Chopper, then Nami. Male or female, old or young doesn't matter to me. Don't turn into me. Nami shouted, backing up. Fake Nami fluttered her eyelashes with a sly giggle. Am I beautiful? Mwah. With a mischievous grin, the imposter pulled open the front of her shirt, revealing a perfectly replicated chest. My body becomes exactly the same too. He. W.O. The male Straw Hats crew froze well, except Luffy, red-faced and stunned. Smack! Nami, face burning, brought down her fist on Mr. Tu's head with a thunderous blow, knocking him flat. Pervert! Don't use someone else's body for that. Can't lie, pretty impressive, they're even accurate in size. But Nami heard him. Her face flushed with rage as she rounded on him, fists clenched. What are you looking at? Shiragai turned to the horizon, smiling nonchalantly. The sky looks really nice today. Wow! Amazing! Do another one. So cool! Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper clapped in excitement, completely swept up in the novelty. Amused by their enthusiasm, Bone Clay continued showing off, transforming into everyone he had stored, men, women, young, and old. Before long, the four of them were laughing like old friends. That's my ship! Mr. Two Bone Clay's eyes lit up when he spotted the approaching Swanda Express on the horizon. He gracefully leapt onto the railing, striking a dramatic pose. Alas friends, it's time to say goodbye. No. Don't go. Luffy, Chopper, and Usopp called after him, eyes teary. Bone Clay turned around, tears brimming in his own eyes. Partings are part of the journey. But our friendship will remain forever. I look forward to the day we meet again. With a theatrical leap, he boarded his ship. Set sail, my men, he declared. Mr. Two, his crew shouted in unison as the quick duck disappeared into the fog. Mr. Two. Everyone on the Going Merry stood frozen, mouths open in disbelief. He's Mr. Two. Vivi gasped, eyes wide with realization. Shiragai leaned on the railing beside her, calmly sipping from a cup. Princess, I take it you didn't realize who he was. I really didn't, Vivi said sheepishly. I don't know Mr. Two, Mr. One, or what their abilities are. Shiragai gave a relaxed smile and turned back toward the kitchen. It's fine. Let's eat first. After that, we can talk about how to counter the risk of him using our appearances. Oh no! Nami suddenly blurted, and everyone's eyes widened. That's right, every straw hat except for Vivi, Sanji, still in the kitchen, and Shiragai had their appearances recorded by Mr. Two. If they ran into their enemy again, how would they distinguish friend from foe? If they mistook an enemy for an ally, the result could be fatal. They sat down for dinner with heavy thoughts, but as the mushroom soup simmered and the grilled mushroom filled the air with savory aroma, their spirits began to lift. This is delicious! Luffy slurped loudly, grabbing at the bowl as Usopp and Chopper tried to snatch bites. What? Sanji suddenly slammed his hands down on the table. That transvestite transformed into Miss Nami, and you guys got to see. He gritted his teeth in despair, banging the table. Why didn't I go out? I missed such a beautiful moment. I'd give anything to see that. Thwack! A ceramic bowl smacked him squarely in the head. You want to die? I'll help. Nami snapped. Wait. Sanji's eyes suddenly lit up. Shiragai's a talent fruit user. He must have copied that imitation ability. Sanji turned to Shiragai, eyes gleaming with hope. Shiragai! You're my only hope. Everyone instantly shivered. Sanji, die! More dishes flew his way. Shiragai chuckled calmly, sipping his drink. Not happening. But Sanji wasn't giving up. He fell to his knees, gripping Shiragai's leg dramatically. Please. Just once. I swear it's only once. Shiragai kicked him away and replied with a calm smirk. Not impossible. Defeat me in a spar and I'll grant your wish. Sanji froze. Everyone knew the outcome of that. Shiragai had never even used his devil fruit in any of their casual fights. Beating him? A fantasy. Sanji sat in silence, lighting a cigarette, engulfed in loneliness. The meal ended in chaos and absurdity. On the deck, the crew gathered to discuss how to identify imposters in future battles. Nami noticed Vivi sitting quietly, her mood dark. Vivi? What's wrong? Vivi's voice was barely above a whisper. When Mr. Two was showing off his transformations, he used the appearance of my father, the king of Alabasta. Nami froze. He touched your father. Shiragai's voice cut in calmly. That confirms it. Crocodile already planned this. Mr. Two must have infiltrated earlier, touching the king for future impersonation. He continued, voice steady. The goal is simple. Mr. Two will impersonate the king, commit atrocities publicly, and destroy the king's reputation. That will spark an uprising in Alabasta. Vivi's eyes welled up with despair. Shiragai-san, what should I do? He gazed out at the distant sea, speaking quietly. Don't worry. We'll help you stop it. And besides. He smiled as the coastline came into view. We're almost at Alabasta. Beneath the Going Merry, a shadow moved silently in the depths below. Whoosh! The sea around the Going Merry surged violently as a massive shadow broke through the surface. Poof! A giant sea beast in the shape of a cat emerged from behind the Going Merry, blinking curiously at the crew. Meow! Who called me? Sea beast attack! Help! Usopp and Chopper screamed in terror, bolting for cover. Luffy's eyes sparkled. Meat! We got meat! Mushrooms are great, but meat fills the belly. I'm starving again. Zoro unsheathed his 3 swords, grinning. He's right. Meat is better. Vivi waved her hands anxiously. No. You can't eat that. Sea cats are sacred in Alabasta. They're seen as good luck. Sanji lit a cigarette, puffing thoughtfully. Eating it might bring good luck too. Meow. Hey, I'm here to make friends. Startled by the bloodthirsty trio, the sea cat recoiled, trembling. Hold it. Shiragai stepped in front of them, calm as ever, a smile on his face. Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, don't touch it. That sea cat is my informant. They groaned in disappointment, lowering weapons and fists. Such a big chunk of meat, wasted. MMM. After quietly communicating with the creature, Shiragai let it slip back into the sea. Meow. Your friends really wanted to eat me. The sea cat meowed one last time, bolted in panic, and vanished beneath the waves. Shiragai turned to the crew, casually brushing off his coat. Sea cats are good omens. They're sensitive to powerful or dangerous auras. I asked it for intel. Turns out, several monstrous auras have been spotted in Alabasta's direction. Zoro's interest piqued. Oh? How many? 7, Shiragai replied, lips curled in a faint smirk. Each one, by its reading, is close to your level or Luffy's or Sanji's. Dangerous territory. Vivi's expression darkened with unease. They had agreed only to escort her to Alabasta. After that, they didn't owe her anything. Zoro suddenly pointed his blade at the sea. Look at those ships behind us. Everyone turned. They're flying the Baroque Works flag. Zoro added. What? Let me see. Usopp whipped out his telescope and gasped. They're real. Crossed swords with purple wings, definitely Baroque Works. There's like 12 of them. Vivi snatched the telescope, eyes narrowing. They've started gathering. These are most likely Billions, the chief commander's elite forces. There could be at least 200 aboard, and they're far stronger than those bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak. Usopp's legs shook. T-200? But we've only got 9 people. Chopper trembled beside him. And Nami-san, are we gonna fight all of them? That's insane. Nami sighed, patting Chopper's head. Too late to regret. You joined a pirate crew, remember? Shiragai chuckled, placing a hand on Usopp's shoulder. No need to panic. You're aiming to be the bravest warrior at sea, right? Watch and learn from those 3. Luffy cracked his knuckles. 200 enemies? Let me at M. I'll send M flying. Zoro snorted. Not a chance. They're mine. Sanji stepped forward, smoke trailing from his mouth. Enough, both of you. 200? I'll handle them all myself. Usopp slumped. They're not normal. You're monsters. And you, Shiragai, you're just another monster. Usopp hugged Chopper. We're doomed. Yeah, Chopper nodded, teary-eyed. We're so doomed. Shiragai remained composed. Focus. The real danger lies in identifying who's real and who's an imposter. As long as we're together, I'll know, but if someone wanders off, how do we tell who's real? Zoro asked, watching a squid spray ink over the rail. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Wait. I've got it. Everyone stared in disbelief. Zoro? With a good idea? Even Sanji raised an eyebrow. TCH. What happened to you, Moss Head? Did you hit your head on the way here? He tightened the bandage around his wrist. Did you get replaced by an imposter? Shiragai, already tying his own bandage, grinned. Confirmed. That's not the real Zoro. What? Zoro's jaw dropped just as Sanji launched a surprise kick, sending him flying overboard. Splash. BLRGH. You bastards. Zoro surfaced, flailing. Shiragai. I'm not an imposter. That moron just attacked me. Sanji shrugged. Guess it's really him. The real Zoro's too dumb to swim. Shiragai offered a polite nod. Sorry, false alarm. You liar. Zoro roared, drenched and fuming. You just wanted an excuse to get me kicked. Stop fighting, Nami ordered. She turned to the desert ahead. There it is. Alabasta. Luffy climbed onto the figurehead, sniffing the air. I smell meat. Shiragai raised his left hand, wrapped in a fresh bandage. All right. From now on, when we land, we check for the mark. Bandage on the left arm. You're real. No mark? You're the enemy. Vivi watched everyone, eyes misty with gratitude. Thank you, all of you. Hi. Luffy blinked. Why are you thanking us? We're crewmates, right? Shiragai gave a relaxed smile. If you really want to thank us, how about a royal banquet after we crush Baroque Works? Luffy's grin stretched ear to ear. Feast. Now we're talking. Vivi lowered her head, trying to hide the tears in her eyes. Dash. Meanwhile, in a restaurant on the island. Gulp. Gulp. Boss, 5 more plates of meat. A shirtless man in shorts and an orange hat shoveled food into his mouth at terrifying speed. Empty plates were stacked beside him, towering like a small wall. Whoa, that guy's eaten enough for 10 men. People gathered around in awe. Look at that tattoo Whitebeard's mark. He's a pirate, right? Should we call the royal army? Dash. Back on the Going Merry, Shiragai gazed at the golden desert coastline. The flame fruit. Sand fruit. Dice fruit. His eyes gleamed. Alabasta's going to be quite the feast. Dash. Has the war already begun? Vivi stared at the approaching coastline, a quiet sorrow rising in her chest. She couldn't tell if her return was too late, whether civil war had already broken out. Perhaps the kingdom had fallen to the rebel army and her father was lost. Or maybe the royal army had crushed the rebellion, leaving countless innocent lives caught in the crossfire, staining her father's name with tyranny. Princess, you look troubled. Nervous to be returning home. A calm voice behind her cut through the anxious silence. Shiragai-san. Vivi turned and saw Shiragai standing beside her, his sudden appearance causing her thoughts to scatter. She lowered her gaze, her voice soft. I'm just worried that all of your efforts might have been for nothing. That crocodile's plan has already succeeded. Stop overthinking, Shiragai said plainly. We'll handle it. That's what we're here for. Before she could respond, Shiragai took her hands in his and suddenly clapped them together, hard. Ack. Vivi flinched, a sharp sting shooting through her palms. Shiragai-san. That hurt. Good. Now you're not overthinking, are you? He released her hands, wearing a smug grin like a rogue who'd just teased a noble girl. Then he turned to the shore, now only a few nautical miles away. Right now, princess, your job isn't to dwell on the worst-case scenario. It's to make sure this war doesn't happen at all. Vivi opened her mouth, hesitating. But Shiragai had already read her doubts. And don't worry. The war hasn't started yet. In fact, because of you, Crocodile's plans were delayed. He's holding back, gathering strength. His words soothed her like rainfall in a drought. Vivi smiled softly. Shiragai-san, thank you. You're not the best at comforting people, but I feel better now. I'll give it everything to stop this war. Hi. When she turned around again, he was gone. Vivi blinked, then laughed to herself. Shiragai-san really isn't good with girls. The Going Merry docked gently by the shore. Nami stepped forward, her tone sharp and commanding. Everyone, listen up. No wandering off or doing anything reckless. Shiragai smirked, glancing toward their missing captain, who was already sprinting through the sand toward town. Nami, you're a little late. The one who fits that description is already chasing the scent of meat. Far ahead, Luffy left a dust trail in his wake. Meat. I'm coming for you. Nami clenched the railing, furious. Luffy, you idiot. Come back. Shiragai landed lightly on the sand, his figure vanishing almost instantly as he covered hundreds of meters in a flash. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. Shiragai, you too. Get back here. Relax, I'm not causing trouble. He waved without looking back, then disappeared from view entirely. Ugh. You two are hopeless. Nami groaned, rubbing her temples in frustration. They had agreed to stick together. Now the two least reliable people had broken away. She turned around, catching Sanji and Zoro sharing a glance. Their feet shifted slightly, as if ready to make a move. Nami's voice dropped to a deceptively sweet tone. You two wouldn't happen to want to act alone too, would you? Zoro and Sanji instantly stiffened. No, we don't. Good. Nami nodded. Sanji, take Chopper and go buy some local clothes. We'll attract too much attention dressed like this. Everyone agreed and split into smaller groups. Dash. Meanwhile, in the city of Yuba, Shiragai strolled casually through the streets, hands in his pockets, surveying the city with a smile. A place rich in culture and strange charm. Almost reminds me of an ancient kingdom on earth. Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. Across from him, a group of dancers moved gracefully down the road. Their bells jingled with every step, worn around their waists, wrists, and ankles. Mwah, handsome stranger. One of them winked and blew a kiss. The others giggled, teasing her playfully as they passed. Shiragai's smile widened. What an interesting country. His foreign attire stood out, drawing attention. Who's that guy? Looks like a traveler. He doesn't have the face of a pirate. Then, suddenly, a group of children blocked his path. Sir, please buy our special dried earthworms. They held up clay pots filled with thin, black, shriveled strips of roasted meat. It didn't look appetizing. Looks decent. Shiragai grabbed a few and tossed them into his mouth. Then he pulled out several berries and handed them over. Whoa! Thank you, sir! They squealed and ran off happily, clutching the coins like treasure. Witnessing this, nearby merchants swarmed him immediately. Sir, try my dried lizards. Way better than worms. Respected traveler. How about my blue sea fish floss? 100 times tastier. These desert fruits are a delicacy fit for a king. They shouted over one another, pushing products into his face. But when they looked again, he was gone. Where'd he go? Shiragai stood atop a tall building, observing the city with narrowed eyes. There you are. His observation haki locked onto a familiar presence. A wide grin stretched across his face. Found you, Fire Fist Ace. He vanished in the blink of an eye. Dash. In front of the restaurant. A large crowd had gathered, staring through the windows. That guy collapsed while eating. Must have been desert strawberry poison. You mean the venomous spider that looks like a red berry? That one. Yeah. He probably died instantly. Look, he's still holding his spoon. Check his back. A skull tattoo, he's definitely a pirate. Shiragai calmly walked through the crowd and stepped inside, heading straight for the table. He took a seat beside the so-called dead body, a man with a hat and a freckled face smashed into his food. Host observed, user of the flame fruit. Comprehended ability to control, manipulate and become fire. The onlookers panicked. That guy sat down next to the corpse. Does he not know it's poisonous? Shiragai tapped the table gently and looked at the restaurant owner. One of your specialties, please. As his fingers tapped, the corpse twitched slightly. This is our restaurant's signature dish, golden sand grilled sausage curry rice. A steaming plate was placed in front of the plunderer, Shiragai Yamakuro. The owner leaned in, whispering with concern. Customer, I recommend keeping your distance from that guy. He might be poisoned. Shiragai casually picked up his spoon, unfazed. Relax, he's not dead. Just asleep. Asleep? You serious? Who falls asleep while eating? And for this long? The restaurant owner and other guests clearly didn't believe him. Unbothered, Shiragai savored a mouthful of curry and grinned at the crowd. Haha, you'd be surprised. I know someone who always falls asleep mid-meal. But fine, I'll prove it. Under their tense gazes, Shiragai raised his hand and gently tapped the head of the supposed corpse. Hey! Wake up, your ass is on fire. The man's arm twitched. Then suddenly, he jolted up, his left hand darting like a hawk's claw toward Shiragai's arm, only to grab air. Hi! Poor Ghastly Ace blinked in confusion, still halfway between dream and reality. Told you he was asleep. Chef, another serving of this curry. Shiragai had already withdrawn his arm, continuing his meal without a care. He had already acquired the flame fruit's data. Ace was no longer a target, just another interesting encounter. He's alive. Gasps filled the restaurant. Ace, cheeks stuffed with rice, blinked blearily at his surroundings and finally let out a sheepish sigh. Ah, crap. I fell asleep while eating again. He reached for the nearest cloth, which happened to be the skirt of a stunned woman beside him, and wiped his greasy face. Why, you pervert! The woman squealed and ran off, her cheeks red with embarrassment. The whole restaurant buzzed with shock. He actually was asleep. Who the hell just knocks out mid-bite? How is a guy like that still alive, let alone traveling alone? SHHH. He's got a tattoo on his back. That's a pirate mark. As murmurs spread, Ace kept eating, completely unfazed. Whatever. This food's amazing. Outside, the crowd slowly dispersed now that the dead man had come back to life. But amidst the people, one hushed conversation caught a dangerous ear. That's the Whitebeard pirate's mark, right? Someone said that before, it belongs to a really powerful crew. The speaker had no idea who was listening, but someone was. A broad-shouldered marine with 2 cigars in his mouth paused in his tracks. A pirate with a Whitebeard mark. Captain Smoker, the White Hunter of the Marines, narrowed his eyes. He had gone to sea in pursuit of the Plunderer, and his instincts flared. The atmosphere in this country, it's wrong. Too much pirate activity. Something's festering here. He raised his gaze toward the restaurant. Whitebeard's crew. Why are they here? Dash. Back in the restaurant. When did you show up next to me? Ace finally glanced sideways and noticed the sharp-looking man eating quietly at the next table. Shiragai ignored him, too absorbed in his food. Ace studied him for a few seconds. Something about the guy felt familiar. Have I seen you somewhere before? Shiragai waved him off silently. Ace frowned, thinking hard. Then suddenly, his eyes lit up. Oh right. The bounty poster. He dug into his bag and pulled out a stack of wanted posters. After a quick shuffle, he found the one he was looking for. The Plunderer, Shiragai Yamakuro. Bounty, 100 million berries. Vice Captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. Considered extremely dangerous. Holy crap, this guy's bounty is insane. Ace glanced from the poster to Shiragai, who was still chewing lazily. He looks exactly the same. No way, it's just a resemblance, right? Ace, mildly face-blind, turned to the restaurant owner and called him over. Hey, boss. Come here. This guy on the poster, isn't that him? Hi. That's a wanted poster. The owner leaned in to look only to freeze when he saw the image. His face went pale. His knees buckled slightly. He turned slowly toward Shiragai, now horrified. That dangerous pirate with a 100 million berries bounty, was in his restaurant. This. The man trembled, looking ready to bolt. Run. He tried to flee, but Ace caught his arm. Whoa, hold up, boss. Just answer me, he is the guy on the poster, right? SHHH. Are you trying to get us killed? The owner hissed in panic, glancing at Shiragai, who didn't even flinch at the rising tension. He's a pirate with 100 million bounty. If we don't run now, we're all done for. Ace chuckled and patted the man's shoulder reassuringly. Relax. He's my little brother's vice captain. He doesn't kill civilians. Then Ace casually added, also, I've got a bounty over 100 million myself. So you're technically feeding two pirates right now. The owner dropped to the floor with a thud, practically in shock. Another one. He pointed shakily to a drawer nearby. All the money's in there, just, take it and go. Ace laughed. Don't worry, boss. I like your cooking. He waved over to Shiragai with a grin. Hey. Names. 2nd Division Commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. Porghast Ace. Ace froze. The low, gravelly voice had come from behind. He turned toward the entrance, eyes narrowing as a tall man with a justice coat stepped through. Captain Smoker. Why are you here?